Hello, hello. This is Christina Barn. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about the border situation as Title 42 is ending. There is bipartisan panic a bit because you could be seeing up to like 5,000 illegal aliens crossing a day, maybe. New York, Mayor Adams is bracing people that they could potentially see like 1,000 people coming in a day or um there's just a lot of stuff's getting real on both sides. Immigration remains a very important issue to voters, though we didn't see the red wave that we needed to see. And if Republicans don't get their act together, I'm not sure that they will actually see any sort of wave if they decide to be soft squishes on the issue, because it's getting worse and it's about to be the floodgates getting open. Now, maybe some people aren't aware of how bad things are. I saw like a poll earlier today. I know there's Harvard poll. I'm not sure if it was in this. I think it was in the poll. I just can't find the exact thing. I saw something like a thread earlier and I was trying to find it, but that people weren't aware of how many people were crossing, and once they were made aware, they're like, oh, we need to do something about the policy. But it's getting bad, and Biden and them, they're basically open borders. They're not doing anything about it. There a couple weeks ago, maybe it was about 2 weeks ago, Biden went to Arizona and they asked him, are you going to go to the border? And he's basically said he had more important things to do, which people did not appreciate because securing the border should be, I don't know, something that I think most people would think is a legitimate role of government, but whatever. So things are bad on that front. Also, there's been a lot of news constantly about Twitter. Elon Musk allegedly is going to step down as head of Twitter via poll, which he probably was going to do that anyway. However, there's been some news that broke over, I think, Friday afternoon or evening. There was some information that broke about the FBI and their role. Maybe it was the afternoon. Maybe we talked about it a little bit. I can't remember. And how they would just target different people and say to Twitter, hey, can you get rid of these folks? Which some of these folks are just like low level memesters with not a big following. So when some of these people were told that they were like targeted by the FBI, they were very perplexed and kind of like, what else are they doing if they're coming after folks who are just like memeing? However, more information has come out about the FBI and sort of their role, particularly with Mr. Baker, who was formerly with the FBI and with Twitter, and who was actually blocking or censoring different information to getting to these journalists as they're going through the files, that he insisted, even at a time when Twitter was like, we're not sure if censoring the story and stuff is actually our company policy, doesn't look like it was hacked materials, etc. And he was meeting with the FBI because he had clearance. And he assured them like, no, it's hacked, it's etc. It's breaking policy. So reading through it and knowing what we do know and hypothesizing, I guess, about stuff that's possible. It seems like a really, 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 really dark thing as far as the fate of our democracy. Like, I'm not saying that the FBI interfered with anything, getting like votes tallies like changed, like they went in there and did something themselves, but they definitely had a role as far as what information got out, particularly with the story. Can you imagine like maybe knowing this big October surprise is going to drop, and then that these political enemies could just kill the story? And this is something that was important, not because Hunter liked to film himself doing porn with prostitutes or something, but because he was buying influence with his father's name and his father's intertwined with his business dealings. And you even had people who were intertwined with them, working with them, who came out and said that, but the media totally ignored the story. And the scariest thing right now is how one-sided the lovers of power are and what they're willing to do to stay in power. It's almost like we have an illusion of which we're not a democracy, but we'll just say the word democracy. It's like we have an illusion of it. People think they're free when they're constantly controlled and they don't have true real information. So it's very unfortunate. Also, there is a drag queen. I thought I was going to talk a lot about social stuff today, but there is quite a bit of news today. So there's a drag show and it's traveling all across the country, but there's some reporters who went to the event that happened in Texas, like a drag Christmas, and Nina West, who's been glorified and put on Nickelodeon, on Blue's Clues, has done pride songs for them, has been on Disney Plus leading like a This Is Me spectacular for Pride Month, was the host of it. And there's some really egregious, gross stuff. I do not feel that kind of stuff is appropriate for even adults, but it's definitely not appropriate for kids. And there was about 20 kids in the audience, and they did say like adult discretion advised, but they did also say it was family friendly. And one of the drag queens during the event said it was a family friendly thing, and they kept addressing kids in the audience a couple times, and they thanked them for coming. They thanked their moms for bringing them. And so a reporter from the Blaze actually interviewed a couple of two of the moms about coming there, at least two. That's a video that came out. So I thought it was going to be some interesting commentaries, but I'll save that to the end because I want to get through this other stuff first. I don't know how much time I'll have to talk about it, and I'm pretty sure I'll touch on some more about it tomorrow. But before we jump into all these things, I like to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles, different videos that we have on the website. I'm going to drop one about the drag queen situation, some stuff we talked about last week, but some people don't understand why it's so immoral for some reason. So I'm fleshing it out in black and white. But to just give you a little spoiler alert, these people, it's not like these people show up to the library story hours in a suit and a tie and to talk about civil service or something, and they read a book. That's not what happens. They're not it's not that these people do stuff in their ordinary life and they have like a secret thing that they or just like a side gig that's obscure or something. No, they're hired because they are adult entertainers. And that's very weird that we have a society that wants to go that route as opposed to getting local children's authors. Like I've gone to schools to read to kids, to read my super kid book, to talk about being an author and stuff. Kids are very easily excited. They are very easily inspired. They make you feel like a hero. Like even though and maybe some of that is to like get for them to do this, keep getting validation from the children as and also like I don't think everyone involved is like a weird skis, but it is very strange that all these adult entertainers really really want access to these kids while in their get-ups that they go on stage and they do these really gross stuff too, or they're still willing to do the gross stuff knowing that there's kids in the audience. It's very perverse. But maybe some kids, just people want fun and want to see the kids faces and have that sort of glow of validation and stuff, but that's not how adults should like seek their life. But there's plenty of different options if you want to entertain children, if you want to inspire them. Like when I was a kid, I remember there was an entrepreneur who came and told their life story of how they came up from adversity. That was really cool. Or uh you could have police officers and firemen and doctors and just normal kind of stuff to come and encourage these kids, read to these kids, etc. But they don't want folks like Kirk Cameron who wanted to who wanted to read in the libraries, like his like Christian Christmas book or something like that, they wouldn't allow that because that didn't correlate with their values. But the libraries would do the drag queens. It, again, they hire these people not in spite of their professions, but because of their professions, which is to do very sexualized, disgusting things that are. I don't find it's appropriate for anyone. There's people out there that floats their boat yucky, yucky, yucky on my perspective, but it's definitely not for kids. So anyway, I'll be dropping that today. So look out for that. Go to the website. You could drop your email in there so you can make sure that you're getting alerts. If you like what I do here at blacktnews.com, please consider leaving a donation on the website, blacktnews.com/donate. Check out different merch that we have at the store that we have. I'll just show one or two and kind of move on. Like the Rome Casey aborted life win stuff. We also have like the You Are Not the Special mugs. Also, if you're interested in any of my books to get for anyone for Christmas, if you want to get that stuff, you can find my name, Christine Elgar, on Amazon. They, according to them, they could still get it out by Christmas. So if you want to chance it, go ahead and you can do that. Or, if you just want to read some stuff yourself, you're more than welcome to. I have 15 published books that are out. I have historical fiction fantasy, I have contemporary fantasy, paranormal romance books, I have nonfiction faith books. I got a lot of stuff. But here's me with all my babies. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on, get to the meat each section of the stories. I gotta like cut down these intros, but I just get excited about the stories, and then the summaries get too long. We'll get a hang of this one day. I like to start off with something funny. So over the weekend, there was a Saturday night massacre when Elon just nuked a bunch of accounts, which it only was like 18 hours max or whatever. Or was it Friday night? It was a massacre. But anyway, someone put it on Wikipedia page. Like, and it's like, you guys are such drama queens that you put it on Wikipedia like it was, I don't know, an insurrection or something. So someone decided to make a picture. They're like, oh, there's even a picture for the page. So there was different journalists who tweeted out a link that someone originally tweeted out of Elon Musk, a tracker of his plane. And so people are like, that's public information, but Elon Musk has some kind of code that blocks that information. And so someone like put in the information to unblock the code. So Elon Musk said, hey, you can't post stuff of tracking people like this in real time. So other journalists, whether they thought it was newsworthy or they were trying to just test the system, dip their toe in to see if there was a shark in the water, Elon decided to be a shark. So he started like banning accounts left and right. We talked a little bit about it on Friday. So I guess it couldn't have been that. Well, I guess from the time Friday night into Saturday, I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, but they're flipping out so much about it. And he ended up bringing them back very quickly. And the whining from the folks because they were temporarily banned was just amazing. Ben Collins, he talked about how Twitter said that they had to delete the post if they wanted to like engage again. And he tweeted it like as if it was new news. And folks are like, how can this reporter, I think he's with MSNBC, how can this reporter not be aware of the fact that this is something that Twitter has been doing? It's been their policy that you have to actually go in and delete it. And so we've talked about it before, like it's like a kind of a ritual of humiliation. It's pretty crazy because maybe not everyone's gonna know all the policies or how these companies interact, but he's on Twitter quite a bit. And that was what happened with the Babylon Bee. They got flagged for saying Rachel Levin, who's our assistant health secretary, was one man of the year. And so he's a transgender woman. So Twitter, the heads of Twitter, everybody thought that was so offensive at the time. So Babylon Bee's account got locked out and they could not use their account. And so all they had to do was delete the tweet. And Seth Dillon, the CEO, said, "We're not deleting it because it's true. And if it just means we can't use our Twitter account, we just can't use our Twitter account. We're not removing this. This is a true thing." And so after that happened, Elon Musk reached out to him, and that's what eventually led to Twitter. Elon buying Twitter. I'm sure there's other things he didn't like, the Hunter Biden story, other stuff like that. And people had been asking him to buy it, and he decided to do it. But there was this big escalation from that point. Maybe that was a tipping point. So it's pretty amazing that Ben was reporting on these left-wing reporters who got suspended and what Twitter was demanding of them to remove the posts, but as if it's new information, and as if everyone wasn't aware that was the case for Babylon Bee. And before Babylon Bee, it was the case with the New York Post and the Hunter Biden story, because they said they're going to have to delete it. So they blocked the story, and then they said that they were locked out of their account, and they said that they'd have to delete it. And so you even had Jake Tapper from CNN, who even tweeted at Twitter and was just basically like, can't they just delete? There's some kind of structure in place with this particular tweet, how it's set up. So if they delete it, won't they just get their account back or something? And they said yes. So there's people who are like, they're being stubborn, they should just delete the tweet, and they're doing it to themselves. So it's not new information, but when you live in such a, I don't know, entitled echo chamber, maybe just nothing can register, because so much of the stuff they're complaining about, again, they're complaining about being treated fairly as far as rules go. Now, Elon Musk has been doing rules, kind of making up as he goes along with some stuff, and he's responding to criticism. He's saying stuff in real time, and he's changing stuff, and some stuff is working out for him, some stuff is not. But it feels a bit chaotic from the outside to the users. Now, I much happier with him running things. There's stuff that I'm tweeting that I wouldn't have that I would have paused tweeting before. And then frankly, I was waiting for him to be the owner so I could tweet a thing or two. So people do feel that there's a bigger freedom. Now, some of this, I think most policies actually haven't changed, but the I don't know, a lot of the enforcers are gone. A lot of the staff is gone, who would probably be flagging the stuff relentlessly and suspending people. So I think it's overall better with Elon Musk being there, but he did last night put up a poll that asked, do you want me to be should I resign as the head of Twitter? And he said he would obey the results of the poll. And more than 60% said that he should resign. And or at least I think it ended up being 60%. Let me double check. But anyway, it was a majority. So he's going to resign, apparently, as the head. Now, he still owns Twitter. I don't know how much whoever he has in mind to take the job, he'll be over their shoulder, how long that it will last. But he'll probably just spend some more time focusing on Tesla and SpaceX and other things like that, which I can understand. But I just hope whoever he has it was 57 to 43, so not in the 60s. It was at one point, but 57 to 43. But hopefully whoever he's going to get to run the day-to-day, they understand some positive things that he's doing, but maybe think through these policies a little bit more, because there's some stuff that isn't making sense, or that it's concerning to people. It seemed like they're going to do a down vote sort of system like Reddit does, but you have to be a Twitter subscriber. So a Twitter Blue subscriber. So if you subscribe to Twitter Blue and you have a verified account and you want to rate down content, then you can do that. But I don't think that's necessary. We should be like following people who you want to follow should and are following should just be popping into your feed better than it has been. Like I get on my homepage of Twitter, I get, it seems like just a little bit of people that I actually follow. And then they'll put in like other stuff will pop in because someone that I follow like this or commented or something. But I'm not seeing a lot from folks that I follow actually popping up in my homepage. And then there's all these things that pop up very fast when I start scrolling toward the bottom of different topics that they feel are relative to me. And I would and that wouldn't be so bad if I could see more of the people I was actually following. Now on TikTok, they have, you can look at your following page, and you can look at the For You page, and maybe there can be something more along those lines. But I shouldn't have to really search the way that I search all the time for the people that I follow. Like there's a couple of like key folks that I like continuously click on their pages to find info in their feeds. And I don't think it should have to be like that. Is it like a huge nuisance? No, but if they I'd rather them fix that than have some kind of, I don't know, social credit score or something. So it still sounds bad. It still sounds like it lead to the kind of censorship that he's and not shadow banning, but filtering of content that he's exposing, and that we all agree is like a bad thing. Just because would do it transparently doesn't mean it would be a good thing. So hopefully, they tweak stuff like that they're thinking, but people are pushing back in policies, and he's reacting real time, which I mean is good. So we like the transparency, but people don't like the uncertainty and the bit of the chaos. But I think things are a lot better. Now let's talk about some things that were revealed though, about the FBI's involvement in Twitter. So so we know some from what's been released with the Twitter files that the Hunter Biden laptop story, they were aware that it wasn't really hacked materials. We know from other Twitter file release that the FBI had a very cozy relationship and chain with Yul Roth, who was the head of like trust and safety. Now, from the batch that was released today, it seems like Roth did push back on the FBI at times. So he is like the villain of the story, with like looking through these feeds and these threads and how folks are banned, etc. And I'm not saying he's not the villain, but there were times when he did push back against the FBI on certain things. So I do want to put that out there. I do want to put that out there. Sometimes you read a story and like, that's the bad guy, and then you read like the sequel and it's like, okay, the bad guy is still bad, but he's apparently not as bad as this other bad guy. So the other bad guy is the FBI, I guess. As far as their involvement. So they would go around flagging accounts, as I said earlier at the top of the hour. They would flag accounts, some of them just memesters that didn't warrant really much special attention. So it begs the question, what are they looking at if for bigger accounts, if they're concerned about people who are just clearly posting jokes and they're flagging and they want Twitter to take care of this person and that person and that person. So there are different concerning things. And it's also like, couldn't you be looking at sex traffickers or potential school shooters and other stuff like that, rather than being so many people just being fascinated or flagging different Twitter posts? It's just not a good use of the Bureau's time, or maybe they feel that it is. Is that what people intended when they first began, like the FBI? Like I just think that there are better things to do, and you get to really shaky ground as far as like, First Amendment stuff. But today more information came out about the FBI's involvement. So Jim Baker, who's was with the FBI formally and has been involved with quite a few crazy things politically, um including investigating Donald Trump. um he also entered the story with Twitter because when Elon Musk gave the files over to Barry Weiss, and maybe it's Weiss, and some other folks, when they were Matt Taibbi, for example, there was someone in within Twitter who was like filtering what they could look at because Elon was just like giving them access. And so when she's like, she saw that I think the last name was Baker, and she's like, well, what's the first name? And then they said Jim, and then she said her mouth hit the floor when she found out it was Jim. I think this was like Twitter file 3 or 4. No, I don't think this was a Twitter file released up. I think it was just them explaining because there was a first file release and then there was a pause, and people were wondering what's with the delay because they said they were going to continuously release them. Well, they found out that he was, I guess, censoring stuff or going through stuff, and he was probably filtering and censoring stuff that he didn't want everyone else to see. So Elon Musk fired him. He kind of alluded that some stuff might have been deleted. Maybe not. I don't know. But we're getting some more information that's a bit juicier than the stuff that was first coming out. So with him out of the way, maybe that's why we're seeing some more stuff about the FBI and their involvement there. So at one point in time, as it got closer to the election, or maybe I'll just read the whole thread really quickly. It's kind of a long thread. But we will go through it. Twitter Files Part 7, the FBI and the Hunter Biden laptop, how the FBI intelligence community discredited factual information about Hunter Biden foreign business dealings, both after and before the New York Post revealed the contents of the laptop on October 14th, 2020. In Twitter File 6, we saw the FBI relentlessly seek to exercise influence over the Twitter, including over its content and users and its data. So that particular thread was released 3 days ago. In Twitter File 7, we present evidence pointing to an organized effort by representatives of the intelligence community aimed at senior executives at news and social media companies to discredit leaked information about Hunter Biden before and after it was published. The story begins in December 2019 when a Delaware computer store owner named John Paul Mac Isaac contacts the FBI about a laptop that Hunter Biden had left with him. On December 9th, 2019, the FBI issues a subpoena for and takes Hunter Biden's laptop. So remember, 2019. So the FBI had possession of this at the end of the year in 2019. By August 2020, Mac Isaac still had not heard back from the FBI, even though he had discovered evidence of criminal activity. And so he emails Rudy Giuliani, who was under FBI surveillance at the time. In early October, Giuliani gives it to the New York Post. Shortly before 7 p.m. Eastern Time on October 13th, Hunter Biden's lawyer, George Myers, or Mizraes, or Mizraes, Hunter and Mizraes had just learned from the New York Post that its story about the laptop would be published the next day. At 9:22 p.m. Eastern Time, FBI Special Agent Elvis Chan sends 10 documents to Twitter's then head of site integrity, Yoel Roth, through teleporter, a one-way communications channel from the FBI to Twitter. The next day, October 14th, 2020, the New York Post runs its explosive story revealing the business dealings of President Joe Biden's son, Hunter. Every single fact in it was accurate. And yet, within hours, Twitter and other social media companies censored the New York Post article, preventing it from spreading and, more importantly, undermining its credibility in the minds of many Americans. Why is that? What exactly happened? On December 2nd, Matt Taibbi described the debate inside Twitter over its discussion to censor a wholly accurate article. Since then, we have discovered new info that points to an organized effort by the intel community to influence Twitter and other platforms. First, it's important to understand that Hunter Biden earned tens of millions of dollars in contracts with foreign businesses, including ones linked to China's government, for which Hunter offered no real work. And yet, during all of the 2020, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies repeatedly primed Yael Roth to dismiss reports of Hunter Biden's laptop as Russian hack leak operation. Um, then the same thing happened to Zuckerberg with Facebook. He said that on Joe Rogan, said that the FBI reached out and said, hey, there's some Russian propaganda going on, FYI, knowing full well that they had the laptop. That's the craziest thing. They had the laptop, so they know this is a big massive lie, and so they're obviously covering for Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And first of all, it's crazy that this laptop exists. It's crazy that Hunter has lost like 3 laptops, by the way, but left it there, and it has all this information on there, and they just suppress it over this very true thing. And so, and then he reached out after the store owner who had the laptop. He reached out to the FBI after they didn't get back with him for like a year, and it was like in August when he decided to do something, reach out to Rudy Giuliani, because this is a terrible thing that's newsworthy that people should know. And so it's not like the New York Post had it for a very long time, was just holding it till October. It was new relative information at the time when it came out. So, but they just blocked it, and the FBI knew good and well that it was a true, real thing, newsworthy, obviously a big deal, because why else would you just choose to block it? So, were the FBI warnings of a Russian hack and leak operation relating to Hunter Biden based on any new intel? No, they weren't. Though through our investigations, we did not see any similar competing intrusions to what happened in 2016, admitted FBI agent Elvis Chan in November. Indeed, Twitter executives repeatedly reported very little Russian activity. On September 24, 2020, Twitter told FBI it had removed 345 largely inactive accounts linked to previous coordinated Russian hacking attempts. They had little reach and low follower count. So, not really a threat like they tried to really upplay after the 2020 election. In fact, Twitter debunked false claims by journalists of foreign influence on its platform. We haven't seen any evidence to support that claim, by _NBC News of foreign control bots. Our review thus far has shown a small scale of domestic troll effort. After FBI asked about the Washington Post story on alleged foreign influence on the pro-Trump tweet, Twitter Roth says the article makes a lot of insinuations, but we saw no evidence that was the case here, and in fact, a lot of strong evidence pointing out in the other direction. It's not the first time that Twitter's Roth has pushed back against the FBI. In January 2020, Roth resisted FBI efforts to get Twitter to share data outside of the normal search warrant process. So that's good. So he didn't like totally roll over for the FBI on every sort of whim. So I just do want to point out that Roth isn't like the devil or something, because he has been vilified, and again he has done some bad shady stuff, but at least the FBI, who's been trying to get information beyond like getting a search warrant, which by other folks who have been observing like the Twitter relationship with the FBI, because they do have like a cozier relationship like most places. I think they've noted that the FBI will try to get information from folks. I think T-Mobile was like an example where the FBI would try to get stuff, and they're very aggressive as far as trying to protect their users and trying to resist like the FBI from getting stuff. And so some folks have criticized the cozy relationship with Twitter. So I am at least a little relieved that this guy pushed back on some stuff. But they give examples of some pressure growing as far as the FBI trying to get stuff. I'm going to skip a little bit of the post. Despite Twitter's pushback, the FBI repeatedly requests information from Twitter that Twitter has already made clear it will not share outside normal legal channels. Then on July 2020, the FBI's Elvis Chan arranges for temporary top secret security. Give me 1 second. Um, on August 11th, 2020, FBI's Chan shares information with Twitter Roths relating to the Russian hacking organization APT28 through the FBI's secure one-way communications channel Teleporter. Recently, Yul Roth told Kara Swisher that he had been primed to think about the Russian hacking group APT28 before news of Hunter Biden laptop came out. When it did, Ross said, it set off every single one of my finely tuned APT28 hack and leap campaign alarms. So they, got these people ready for this. In August 2020, FBI Chan asked Twitter, does anyone have top secret clearance? When someone mentions Jim Baker, Chan responds, I don't know how I forgot him. An odd claim given Chan's job is to monitor Twitter, not to mention that they work together at the FBI. Suspicious. Who is Jim Baker? He's a former general counsel of the FBI, 2014 to 2018, and one of the most powerful men in the U.S. intel community. Baker has moved in and out of the government for 30 years, serving stints at CNN, Bridgewater, a $140 billion asset management firm, and Brookings. As general counsel of the FBI, Baker played a central role in making the case internally for an investigation of Trump. Baker wasn't the only senior FBI executive involved in the Trump investigation to go to Twitter. Don Burton, the former deputy chief of staff to FBI head James Comey, who initiated the investigation of Trump, joined Twitter in 2019 as director of strategy. As of 2020, there were so many former FBI employees, blue alumni, I guess they call them, working at Twitter, that they had created their own private Slack channel and a crib sheet to onboard new FBI arrivals. So there's a lot of feds in this company, I guess. Efforts continue to influence Twitter's Yul Roth. In September 2020, Roth participated in an Aspen Institute tabletop exercise on a potential hack and dump operation relating to Hunter Biden. The goal was to shape how the media covered it and how social media carried it. The organizer was Vivian Schiller, the former CEO of NPR, former head of news at Twitter, former general manager of the New York Times, former chief digital officer of NBC News. Attendees included Facebook's head of security policy and the top national security reporters for New York Times, Washington Post, and others. By mid-September 2020, Chan and Roth had set up an encrypted messaging network so employees from FBI and Twitter could communicate. They also agreed to create a virtual war room for all the internet industry plus FBI and Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Then on September 15th, 2020, the FBI's Laura Dimlaw, who heads the Foreign Influence Task Force, and Elvis Chan request to give a classified briefing for Jim Baker without any other Twitter staff, such as Yul Roth, present. Don't you find that suspicious? On October 14th, shortly after New York Post publishes its Hunter Biden laptop story, Roth says it isn't clearly violative of our violation. He didn't say volatile, but a violation of our hacked materials policy, nor is it clearly in violation of anything else, but adds, this feels a lot like somewhat subtle leak operation. So this is a big one. This is a big tweet. I shared this on Facebook. In response to Roth, Baker repeatedly insists that the Hunter Biden materials were either faked, hacked, or both. Baker does so over an email in a Google Doc on October 14th and 15th. So this man who has his clearance because he's worked with them before is talking to the FBI. He's talking to them in instances where no other Twitter employees are talking, and he's telling the head of trust and safety, and he has these classified, he has this high classification and stuff. And he's telling him that it's fake or it's hacked, that it's not real or whatever. and he should know. I'm assuming he's having these communications with the FBI. I'm assuming he is aware that the FBI actually genuinely has Hunter Biden's laptop, and they know it's legit, and they know that this story is legit. But they're telling the head of Twitter, who they've been pressuring, who they've been, prepping, that this is fake, it's hacked, etc. And all these folks got heck in 2016 for not censoring more, for with different election information, etc. And everyone's so ticked off because they believe that's why Hillary Clinton isn't in the White House. So you have all this baggage, all this drama, which I'm just like adding that this for like context. I'm not saying that he said that any of that influenced him, but this is just kind of the atmosphere of the world that we're living in. So they tell him that it's hacked, knowing that it's not true. Yet, and it's inconceivable, Baker believed the Hunter Biden emails were either fake or hacked. The New York Post had included a picture of the receipt signed by Hunter Biden, and an FBI subpoena showed that the agency had taken possession of the laptop in December 2019. As for the FBI, it likely would have taken a few hours for it to confirm that the laptop had belonged to Hunter Biden. Indeed, it only took a few days for journalist Peter Schweizer to prove it. By 10 a.m., Twitter execs had bought into the wild hack and dump story. The suggestion from experts, which rings true, is there was a hack that happened separately, and they loaded the hack materials on the laptop that magically appeared at a repair shop in Delaware. So, it's so immoral. At 3:38 p.m. on the same day, October 14th, Baker arranges a phone conversation with Matthew J. Perry in the office of the General Counsel of the FBI. The influence operation persuaded Twitter execs that the Hunter Biden laptop did not come from a whistleblower. One linked to a Hill article based on a Washington Post article from October 15th, which falsely suggested that Giuliani's leak of the laptop had something to do with Russia. There is evidence that FBI agents have warned elected officials of foreign influence with the primary goal of leaking the information to the news media. This is a political dirty trick used to create perception of impropriety. In 2020, the FBI gave a briefing to Senator Grassley and Johnson claiming evidence of Russia interference into their investigation of Hunter Biden. The briefing angered the senators who say it was done to discredit their investigation. The unnecessary FBI briefing provided the Democrats and liberal media the vehicle to spread their false narrative that our work advanced Russian disinformation. Notably, then, FBI General Counsel Jim Baker was investigated twice in 2017 and 2019 for leaking information to the news media. You're saying he's under criminal investigation? That's why you're not letting him answer? Meadows asked, and they said yes. In the end, the FBI's influence campaign aimed at executives at news media, Twitter, and other social media companies worked. They censored and discredited the Hunter Biden laptop story. By December 2020, Baker and his colleagues even sent a note to thanks to the FBI for its work. So corrupt. The FBI's influence campaign may have been helped by the fact that it was paying Twitter millions of dollars for its staff time. I'm happy to report we have collected $3,415,328 since October 2019, reports an associate of Jim Baker in early 2021. And the pressure from the FBI on social media platforms continues. In August 2020, Twitter execs prepared for a meeting with the FBI whose goal was to convince us to produce on more FBI EDRs. EDRs are emergency disclosure requests, a warrantless search. In response to the Twitter files revelation of high-level FBI agents at Twitter, Jim Jordan said, I have concerns about whether the government was running a misinformation operation on we the people. Anyone who reads the Twitter files, regardless of their political orientation, should share these concerns. And that's the end of the thread. I think we should be very concerned that our government and our taxpayer dollars coordinated with these folks to run a misinformation campaign. And it's funny because you have these people within the Biden campaign administration who wanted to have all these restrictions on us and restrictions on Twitter in order to stop misinformation, when it's seems pretty clear that they were running a misinformation campaign. And especially, I mean, who coordinated all these ex-intelligent officials to come together and to say that the Hunter Biden stuff, laptop story, was fake? That was Russian disinformation. And Biden got on the debate stage and said, "Hey, all these people, intelligence people, said it was Russian disinformation." He knew at that time, of course, that that laptop was left by his son, that it was real, that it was legit, that it was that he was under investigation. So, um, as I said at the top of the hour, it does feel like we have an illusion of democracy. I mean, people go out and they vote, they decide things, but you have to think about how many people are genuinely misinformed on matters, and not just from like people like your Joe Schmo, like your neighbor telling you something that isn't true, or even like the hackery of news channels just saying one thing or another, but you know MSNBC says one thing and you know that Fox says one thing. It's not even that like that. You have people in the intelligence communities, in the FBI, that are trying to change the results of elections by influencing the minds of all these people and censoring different stuff. And that's just not how we should be operating as a free people. If we're truly free people. So I really hope that um, Republicans, as they look into all this stuff, that it's not just again talking about how Hunter Biden had a sex tape and there's a Squirtle in the background looking like, what the heck is going on? Like, I hope there's more to it than that. And I know there'll be more to it than that. But Republicans do need to, have a unified effort. There's a chance they could really blow their majority that they have, because it is a slim majority. But there's so much infighting with McCarthy and stuff, like for leadership, um, that the Democrats are pitching like a unified sort of leadership, and they could always put in someone who's and vote for someone who's going to derail a lot of stuff that needs to happen. So some people might not like the options that we have right now, but there needs to be a good alternative, and they don't need to let the Democrats snatch the victory snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat or whatever. So um we got to play better games, and we got to fix our institutions. We have to fix our systems, um because we're in trouble. We can keep doing stuff like this. I can keep trying to inform folks. You talk to your neighbors, you talk to your friends, you show them the evidence and stuff. um but it is difficult when there's a whole darn world standing against you. Now I think it's important that we stand up and fight, and you encourage someone else to stand up with you, and you encourage someone else to stand up with you, you encourage someone else to stand up with you, and you'll eventually be able to make a lot of change. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take some courage. Um but I would hope that everyone would be alarmed at this, at the behavior of the FBI. But I know that some people are just too partisan, and they won't care. I thought the scariest thing about Hillary Clinton, the potential for her being president, and I don't like her policies and all kinds of other stuff, but I didn't like so much power leaning one way. And I did read the Podesta emails, but it really looked like her campaign just had a relationship that was far too friendly with the media, and it alarmed me, because I'm like, who are the watchdogs? They have all these folks in the levers of power and the bureaucracy, everything on their side. And we don't even have the media who will stand up and just report like truth without like them, you know, twisting things to make things more flattering for her or whatever. Um, what are we gonna do? So that gave me some relief that she obviously lost. But ever since Trump won, you've had this undermining of him. per- Particularly, it started when Obama was still president. An undermining of Trump to reinstall a lot of people from the former administration, which Joe Biden is from the former administration, the Obama administration. So it's like you have these people undermining the incoming administration in order to reinstall themselves. And so we're seeing this drama with the FBI and how they interfered this time, but they did really inappropriate stuff before, to the point where when Trump was like getting inaugurated around that time, you had people within the FBI who were buying like liability insurance because they were afraid that they were going to get sued. because they knew internally that they did so many shady things, like Trump, his campaign. Um, so we need someone who's going to radically clean up a lot of this stuff. Trump, I'm sure, wants to come in and do that. I don't know how many people are going to give him the chance to do that, because they might say like a lot of the stuff happened on your watch, bro. So I don't know. I don't, but something does need to be done. This it's just unacceptable. And and what's really scary is you don't know how much of it is like just these malicious people doing stuff because they're cruel and they're mean, versus like they really do feel that this was the patriotic thing to do, to censor this story with Hunter Biden, even though they knew it was true, but they believed that they were saving democracy by doing this conspiracy and this coup. Like how many people are at the FBI are like Sam Harris, who believed in the conspiracy and lying about the Hunter Biden laptop and censoring the New York Post, because in the end he felt it justified the meme of getting means of getting Hillary Clinton elected, because for some reason he thinks that Trump is worse than Hitler, which he's had commentary that was essentially that was pretty remarkable. So anyway, I talked basically about that the whole time. But I do want to touch on the border situation briefly. So here's a crazy interview, um, kind of blaming the Republicans and Trump for using rhetoric like um, open borders, as if Democrats create. Obviously, Democrats created bad policies, and there's some Republicans who bought into it and haven't helped the situation. But they've Biden's policies are basically open borders, and you have this journalist who's like, well, you Republicans are the one who's saying that and like putting it out in the atmosphere.
You talk about the border wall, you talk about open borders. I don't think I've ever heard President Biden say, we have an open border, come on over. But people I have heard say it are you, are former President Trump, or Ron DeSantis. That message reverberates in Mexico and beyond. So they do get the message that it is an open border, and smugglers use all those kinds of statements.
It was known from the time that Joe Biden got elected that Joe Biden supported open borders. It is known by the cartels who have sophisticated information whether or not the Biden administration is going to enforce the immigration laws or not. Is known across the world, but most importantly, known among the cartels.
And how do you play into that? What can you do better?
So we have every level of government doing everything we can to prevent people from coming into the country illegally, or repelling them, or arresting them and putting them behind bars.
So there have been interviews with people literally like at the border saying that they're coming in because of Joe Biden. And it's no secret that these people know, that they are aware that the border is open and that Joe Biden is issuing policies that are friendly to coming in for open borders. So Title 42, which is like a health thing that was issued during COVID, like you can't come in, there's COVID, something that Trump used to enforce border policies, is ending. And the Biden administration, like, oh, it's not an emergency, we don't need that anymore. Yet they want to use it for like student relief loan debt and all that other kind of stuff. They're really shady, obviously. But there's no policy. Now Democrats can argue, and some are arguing that this was like a health kind of issue and we don't need it anymore because we're not under that kind of emergency. Okay, you can make that case, but you still don't have any other policy that you've implemented to drive this surge back that's coming. You don't have anything in place, and there should have been something in place. Democrats and Republicans should have come together to make some policies that would stop this from happening. But that's not the goal. Biden's not going to sign it. Democrats aren't going to sign it. Now, maybe if there was a red wave, maybe if there was a genuine red wave and they took over the House and the Senate, maybe Biden would feel more compelled to work in a more bipartisan sort of way, but he doesn't feel like he has that mandate. And he's not wrong from like the outside kind of looking in. Now, the border policies, it is still on people's minds. It is still very important, but he's not. I don't think he's going to do like a Clinton and try to run kind of more moderately, or legislate on more moderately. He's very emboldened right now because he didn't get shellacked in the midterms, and though there were red waves in certain areas, we really got shellacked in other uh places, like in Michigan, for example. So he's very emboldened to continue doing what he's been doing, and he's not going to change his policy on the border anytime soon. And then you have Republicans like Tillis and stuff who's going to compromise and trying to do some kind of amnesty stuff, which is also going to, it was like Tillis and Sinema working together. And if you say, hey, we're going to give amnesty, there's these folks who are going to come in, take advantage of our asylum policies, know that they come in, they'll have a court date or whatever, and they'll disappear and you won't see them again. And they'll just kind of wait as long as they can until we're like, well, it's just too inhumane to deport them now. And then you'll say like, hey, we got to give them amnesty. That's the goal. That's the goal. So what are we going to do? Apparently nothing in the next couple of years, because that's not what Biden's goal is. There's literally interviews with people coming across the border from throughout pretty much the entirety of his presidency, of them saying, we're coming because of Biden. We're coming because of his policies. And there's even some illegal aliens who've been told by the government, like, just, people at the border, just wait until 42 is ended, because basically it'd be easier for them, because they can't let them in now, but after 42 is over, their hands are more tied. So people, we should have like the remain in Mexico policy and enforce stuff like that. That's not what Biden wants to do. He wants these open borders. Now he doesn't want the coverage of it because it looks really bad. And that's why they want to ship people into the interior of the United States. It's okay when Biden does it. It's not okay when DeSantis does it. It's not okay when Abbott does it. That's very bad and that's evil. But Biden can do it when he wants to avoid press. But even still, these centers are very, very crowded. Here's a video that Fox News posted, and by Rep. Tony Gonzalez, that shows overcrowding at the Border Patrol Central Processing Center in El Paso, Texas.
Diela Fernández, Cassandra Elin Alvarado Guzmán, Stephanie y María Alvarado Tinoch. Diela Fernández, Cassandra Elin Alvarado Guzmán.
So I wonder how many of those kids are unaccompanied. So Congressman Gonzalez says that he took that video on Friday when 4,600 migrants came in federal custody, and the capacity is only 1,040. So they're about to get overrun, actually, in El Paso. I believe it was they're issuing like a state of emergency. The Biden administration them has been trying to like hold off and have them not claim that stuff, but things are bad, and they're expecting like they could get 5,000 people crossing a day, and we've had more than 5 million people coming since Joe Biden took office, and it's not getting any better. But whoever is going to run for president, well, we know that Trump is running for president already, declared and stuff. I'm pretty positive DeSantis hasn't declared. He's not going to declare for a long time, not until like you get closer to this summer, maybe spring. He's making some power moves, particularly with his like COVID panel, that I would say are strategic moves for him to eventually make his move. But whoever's coming in, they have to bring that same similar energy that Trump had, in 2016, maybe more a bit more politically correct than Trump did when he came in. But people need to know that they're very serious about cleaning up this issue at the border. I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's a lot of people that are very concerned about sex trafficking with children and their abuse, particularly with the Balenciaga story, and that's like a high end fashion design company. And there was an ad that came out with children and they're holding teddy bears and they're in like BDM, is it BDM, BDSM, BD, like the sexualized stuff, like bears wearing like sexual harnesses and stuff. And people were outraged by it. So people tried to downplay it, and then people start digging a little deeper and they're like, hold on a second, why is there a book in this photo ad that has all this really gross, disturbing images of children in it? Or why is there this court document reference case to this pedophilic stuff? Like, so people dug deeper and they're like, this company is very disgusting. So there's been this big conversation over the past couple weeks for this company. Particularly, people are talking about on social media a lot, Instagram, on TikTok. But if you care about children being trafficked and sexually abused, why are we allowing these borders to be wide open? You have these minors who are unaccompanied, who they come over with these coyotes, and many of them are sexually assaulted. When Trump was running for president, and again for re-election, and they had the debate, the second one, there was a story that just came out right before the debate, and they said, well, there's still children that aren't reunited with their parents, and which I'm sure it dropped conveniently at that time to make it into the debate. And Trump's like, not all of these kids came over with their parents. Some were taken by coyotes. And you had folks on the internet who didn't know what a coyote was. And I don't fault, if you don't know what a coyote is, I don't fault you for it if this wasn't like a main emotional issue for you. Now, I can appreciate people being emotionally invested, but I need you to be intellectually invested as well. And if you were so upset about the border situation and what was happening at the border and people being separated, et cetera, these unaccompanied minors, but you didn't know that a lot of these people were taken by coyotes, and you don't know what a coyote is, if you don't even know what the issue is like that, I think that's a problem. And it was definitely a problem because you had all these verified users that are supposed to be important because they got the check mark or whatever. And some of these folks are legislators, some of these people are like activists, big activists with huge accounts, some news people, etc. And they didn't know. They didn't, and they had the audacity to act like Trump was an idiot because he suggested that an animal like Wile E. Coyote could carry a child across the border. So they're indignant in their ignorance. If you really care about these kids, if you really care about sexual assault and the trafficking of children, why do we have wide open borders? Why? Gonna throw that out there, and I'm gonna keep throwing it out there, and I would like more people to ask this question. I'd like more people to ask this and think about it sincerely and deeply. I'm gonna have to let you guys go because I am over. So I did briefly touch about the story in Texas, but I'm gonna go through the drag queen Christmas. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. Look tonight for that article I'm going to drop about the drag queen stuff, but that's more like a general thing. But we will dig, and it does reference it, but we'll dig into it more tomorrow. I'll show you this video, the interview with the mothers who were interviewed, who didn't think there was a problem with bringing their kids to this event, which was pretty wild. So like I said, I thought we were going to touch more on like some cultural stuff, but it was a very newsy day. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, you can go to blacktnews.com. Make sure you're dropping your email, watching different videos and articles, and reading different articles and stuff on the website. But you can also give a gift at blacktnews.com/donate. It costs to stream. It costs to run my website. It costs to have different equipment and stuff that I have, like even like Photoshop, all this, like you have to do subscriptions and all that kind of stuff. There's just money associated with everything that I'm sure you're well aware of. I know it's Christmas season, but if you can support, I very much would appreciate it if you can, whether it's a gift of $10, $20. Some of you can go above and beyond, and some of you have before, and I very much appreciate it as we try to cover up our overhead, especially going into next year. Would like a lot of different subscriptions and different stuff that I need, equipment that I would like to get. I would like to be able to just knock that all out if I could. So if you can, I very much appreciate it. If you can't, I thank you guys for liking, for sharing, subscribing. All that stuff does really, really help Black Teen News grow. So very appreciate of that. But also consider getting different merchandise from the website as well. That does also help. Let me show you just like one or two things, like the I'm not the victim you're looking for. We got that be better, not bitter. And also, if you like or if you're interested in any of my books, you can go to blackteennews.com, and if you hit the merchandise button, or go to the merchandise page, there's a banner with some of my books on it, and it'll take you to my book website. Otherwise, you can just go to ninjadeskpublishing.com or search my name on Amazon to see some of the cool stuff that I have, like Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. That's my nonfiction faith book. I got my historical fiction fantasy book here, and I do also have children's chapter books. I do have a picture book. My sister is illustrating it, working on it now. Hopefully that'll be done in the summer, but it's a really cute book. I'm looking forward to that coming out. But lots of stuff you guys can read. And if you know someone who's a reader, I think there's still time for you actually to order this stuff on Amazon to send to somebody that you know. So there's a picture with me and my 15 books that I have currently published. It was my goal when I turned 30 to have 30 books completed by that time, and I did actually meet my goal. So I have more than 30 books that are finished and were completed, but I have 15 that are published. So and I do most of the covers myself, with one exception now. Now, this book isn't out, but I'm going to keep talking about it, and I'll let you guys know when it's available for pre-order. Of course, God is blatantly against abortion. So my youngest sister actually did the artwork for that. She's a talented young artist. You can look up Tina's Text Portraits to find her website, but she does paintings and she does text portraits. She also does digital art. This is a digital she sketched it out and then she did a digital painting of it. So she did a fabulous job. So I very much appreciate her talent. God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.